Hello and welcome to another video on Hobby Hold about my current favorite thing, SensorWatch. This current thing on my wrist right now is a SensorWatch Lite running in an A159W. I think it's exceptionally cool. I've been wearing this thing like pretty much daily. I love it. I actually love this. I actually love this watch. It's the perfect look at the F91W and F158W that everyone loves, but it's got just kind of a little more functionality, and if you're bored with what it does, you can just add new stuff to it whenever you feel like it. It comes apart extremely easily. It's not the easiest to change the firmware on it, but like after doing this thing twice, you can probably rip apart this watch and put it back together blindfolded. So today we are going to build it for the emulator. We're going to run it. I'm going to show you everything involved in getting your development environment set up, and then we're going to transfer that firmware to the watch. I'm going to take this thing apart, plug it in, we're going to reassemble it, I'm going to throw it back on my wrist, and we're going to play Space Invaders together. Sound good? Sweet, let's do it. I am on SensorWatch's website right now. I also have a friend. This is my wife's cat, Mal. Hi. Casio, please make watches for cats. Thank you. We are on SensorWatch's website. This is where pretty much all the magic happens. All the documentation you need is here. I've learned to do all of this from the documentation. It's very clear, but you know, why not throw another YouTube video in the mix? So let's scroll down to the bottom. We've got a GitHub link. We can click that. Have a gander at their library here. This is an open source project. Everything is open source. The framework that makes this happen is completely open source, and this board itself is completely open source. Very, very cool project. Just copy and paste this link here. This will allow us to clone this GitHub repo. So I'm gonna click and drag this down to my terminal and just open that. Make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. But we're gonna run git, G-I-T-C-L-O-N-E, and paste it. Just don't do this on your desktop, maybe. Find a folder on your computer that you want to use. Currently I'm under my home, development, and then SensorWatch folder, just to keep everything separate. And what I've done is basically just open that in the terminal. Mac OS, you can drag that straight to the terminal. Linux, probably not, depending on your file browser, but hey. So, git clone, and then the repo URL that I just copied in there. Nice and easy, downloaded it. We will open this in Visual Studio Code. So my easy way of doing this is just dragging it down to Visual Studio Code. And here we are. You probably can't see anything. You might get a couple warnings about some other things. Don't worry about it. But the important thing you want to see is this down in the bottom corner. I can make this as big as possible here. Folder contains a dev container configuration file. Reopen folder to develop in a container. Sounds pretty nice. It contains all of our dependencies, everything we need. We're hopefully not going to run into any errors because all the dependencies are self-contained. It should just be good. Let's just do that. Go a little bit more real estate here. To do this, you need Docker installed. If you don't want to install Docker, or for some reason you're a bit of a masochist and you want to do this manually, I have some instructions on how to do it in the link below. I can't guarantee it'll work. I have a weird version of GCC that was incompatible. I just didn't want to bother with any of that because I never developed for hardware anyways. So do what you want. We have just opened this in a dev container. If your terminal window is open, you can see that we're logged in as root inside the container. If you don't see the terminal, you can just hit Control and then like the backtick. Control and backtick should open the terminal. There's also a little icon in Visual Studio Code that you can use to open it. Let me just hide my dock. There we go. So we're in this thing. We've got lots of stuff. What does it all mean? The important things that we really care about are here. We've got this movement folder. This is the framework. We've got make, which includes all the make scripts. That's a folder underneath movement. And there's two things here. So we've got make file, which tells it what to make. And we've got make alternate firmware. So make alternate firmware essentially just builds the emulator and builds all of the firmware in its different versions. You can see here that all of our builds get put in this temporary file, build watch.uf2. After that's complete, it basically uses mscripting to take the watch firmware and build that as WebAssembly. There's a cool little utility in here that basically emulates the watch. It's an HTML page with some JavaScript that just takes all your clicks and displays everything on the LCD, and the brains of it all are WebAssembly. That WebAssembly is essentially the brains of the watch. So yeah, let's get started. The easiest way to just get on with this thing is to just build the stuff. So there are some standard faces, and there are some colors. I'm going to take a couple of shortcuts here to minimize the build time, because I imagine you personally don't have all three versions of this, and you personally don't want to build all of these. You can also just remove the stuff that you don't want, and then just build the stuff that you do want. So getting rid of these 7 here, building for the colors that we're going to be running in the emulator, we can basically just remove these. I think the emulator, though, however, runs green. Although the make file down here builds that in green as well. We don't actually really care what it's doing. I'm just gonna build for red and standard. So as you can see on my screen, I'm just gonna build for red and standard. This is gonna save quite a bit of time. We're essentially cutting out 14 extra loops that we're not gonna be doing. I don't really personally care about it, and you might not either. If you do care about it, you can leave them in. Your time is your time. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go into the build folder. So that is CD, change directory, movement, you can just tab into it, and make. So we are here, and what we're basically just gonna do is call this script /, and make alternate firmware .sh. So when that's there, all we need to do is just run it. Simple as that. The reason we use Git is a little bit important. It's downloading a bunch of sub-repos as part of its build process. Those sub-modules that it's pulling in are important for making this thing actually work. Just do this with Git. If you downloaded it as a zip folder and this is actually working, sweet. I didn't think it would. All right, and you can see at the bottom it is complete. So HTML build-sim watch.html. That's basically where our demo is. So we're going to run em run firmware /simulate standard and index.html. This is going to give me an error. There we go. Unable to find browser Firefox. Because we're running in a dev container, and it doesn't really have any say on what goes on outside of that container, being your computer, it can't really launch a browser for you. Long story short, Visual Studio is going to be pretty helpful in helping us run this thing. You can also just copy and paste stuff into the browser if you want, but we will use the tools built into Visual Studio Code because Microsoft actually did a good job on this one. So we're going to run that same command, except we're going to add a couple things here. We're going to go -- no _ browser. And cool, it built, it's trying to run it. Your application running on port 6939 or 6931 is available. Open in browser. Easy. And there we go. This is the firmware that we just built. The cool thing with the standard firmware is you can set your location. You can go into settings. There are a couple of faces involved here to set that. Okay, let's exit this demo and make our gamer watch. So make alternate FW makes our firmware. There is a command in here, make. This is running our make file. So our make file has references to basically all the watch faces that you're going to be building. If you want to save a little bit of time, you can comment some of these out. I don't know if it's essentially worth it for this tutorial, but if you remove them from this make file, you also need to remove them from here. Movement _ faces.h has all of the includes, which include all of the faces that are being built. And if it's missing from the make file, this is also going to fail. The build didn't really take that long, so we're not going to remove any of these. This list in movement faces is pretty handy to you because you get a list of all of the watch faces that are available to you. We're gonna let the cat scratch that for a second. So we want to make a gamer watch. What is involved in that? Well, we need to go movement config.h. Movement config.h has this array up at the top here, basically just outlining all of the faces that you can that you're going to be roping into your standard build. When we run our make alternate firmware script, it's going to be using this array to build all the watch faces. This is where we decide what we want to put on our watch. Because we're doing the gamer, I've got a couple ideas of things that are going to be useful to us. We probably don't care about the world clock face. Probably don't care about the sunrise and sunset face, because we're banging Fortnite 24/7. Same with the moon face, because you don't go outside. We might care about the stopwatch face. Preferences face is going to be really useful. Some of these faces are included in kind of a weird way. If you hold down the mode button, some of them appear there, and some of them appear in the sequential list as you step through all the faces, just by pressing the mode button. Preferences face, set time face, voltage face, and thermistor readout face are all things that go there. But all we really care about is the preferences face and the set time face, because I don't think any of the faces that we're going to be adding to this thing really matter as far as geolocation goes or temperature goes. So stopwatch face, we are going to add a countdown face. You can tell that these are actually available if they turn blue eventually here. Visual Studio is trying to help you out as much as it can. What else do we want? Well, we've got a Wordle face, the butterfly game face. We could add the small chess face as well. It's a nightmare to play, and I can't imagine playing that. But the cool thing is it actually does have AI baked into it. Whatever the AI context in chess is, it will try to whoop your ass. We also want invaders face. I think we've got a Simon face as well. So simple clock face, stopwatch face, countdown face, Wordle face, butterfly game face, Simon face, small chess face, and invaders face. I'm just gonna get rid of small chess. It is impossible to play. And then yeah, for preferences, we've got a preferences face and our set time face. Cool, let's run this build. So we're gonna go back and run our previous command. That would be our make alternate fw.sh. So / make alternate fw.sh, and give that a run. And we're done. Now we just need to run it. I'm just going to tap up until I see the command that I want. That would be em run. There we go. Open in browser. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, it ran successfully. So holding that down, we can set the preferences. So we've got 12-hour or 24-hour time. We can turn the beeps on and off. We can do low energy mode. It goes into kind of a screensaver after a certain amount of time, like 10 minutes. This is cool because we can just dial it in how we want it, and then we can throw it on our watch without reassembling our watch to see how this thing is actually going to behave. Backlight, we can set it for 10 seconds. None of this stuff's going to carry over when you transfer this thing onto your watch, but it's cool. You can set the backlight strength for each. Kind of neat. And then you can go to setting the time as well. And yeah, time zone. Let's check out our games. So we've got our stopwatch, we've got our countdown timer, we've got Wordle, and we've got butterfly game, which is a bit of like a memorization game, I think. And what was this? Simon. I don't know. I don't know what this is. Okay. My personal favorite, invaders. This is impossible to play in the browser, but 0 to It's weirdly stressful. And back to the time. So yeah, that's cool. We can basically just transfer this thing directly to our watch. So going back to the beauty of this thing being open source, we can actually change things as we want to. For example, this countdown face, you know, we're gonna be making pizza with this thing probably because we're a gamer. So we're gonna set our default minutes to 12. Why not? We could also look down and change the symbol for the countdown timer. Yeah, any place you see CD, we could basically just... PZ looks pretty weird. We don't really have the segments on our LCD to display a Z. PA, I guess. So yeah, let's try this out and see if it works first. So that's the beauty of doing it in the emulator before reassembling your watch again. Let's just build this super quick. So we will do make alternate FW and let that run its course. And there we go. Built successfully without error. Go back to EM run in no browser and let it open. PA, there's our pizza timer. Default 12 minutes. Sick. So let's slap this thing on our wrist now. We can do make color, all caps, equal red, RED, and done. Here is my A159. Also important, a micro USB cable. The board is actually thin enough that it just slips right into those pins. And because it's 2025 and I've got a semi-modern laptop, I need to use a USB-C adapter. I'm just gonna plug this into my Mac. Yeah, the really annoying and inconvenient part of the F159W is that we need to remove a pin to get into this thing, but that's okay. We get my masking tape here just to cover up the face, but we're also just gonna put our screws right in the middle there. And there we go. Take a little piece, maybe another one. The whole goal here is basically just protect the face while we're rumming this thing around on our desk. No one likes a scratched up watch. So yeah, let's remove some screws and 4. You can lift it out super easily just by sticking it in that little side hole there. Make sure you don't snag the gasket on anything, pulling it out, and set that aside. Flip that over just to prevent any dust from getting inside. And as you can see, and the reason we're wearing gloves is that I don't want to get any fingerprints on this LCD. So taking this thing apart, we basically just need to hit these tabs. Very gentle to just knock it off the keepers. Just a tiny little flathead. There we go. Screen's dead. Battery's out. There's our board. I'm just gonna slip it out. And yeah, there's the back side of the LCD. Just gonna keep that also safe. So we've got our board. There's this little button right here. And we need to double tap that once plugging this thing in. You want the CPU side of the module facing up. And because the pins in your micro USB are on the top of the rounded side, you need the rounded side also facing up. Notice we don't see a light yet. That is okay. Ignore all the clutter on my screen right now, but we've got our build folder that's under movement, make, build. This is the important file here, watch.uf2. Watch.uf2 is our last firmware that we've built. So what we're gonna do is just double tap this little tiny button. And if you see the light go out, you didn't tap it fast enough. But there you go. Solid red LED. And you should also see a drive show up here called Watch Boot. What we're gonna do is basically just take that and drag it over to Watch Boot. If you're looking at my screen, you saw that thing blink a couple of times. We're good. And it also unmounted the drive as well. That's it. That's literally it. So we just need to get this thing reassembled, hook it all back up, and it should just work. So remember which one's the top. That little licorice looking thing is what lets our pins communicate with the LCD. So be careful of that buzzer if you have one. Make sure not to bend it. We're just gonna slap this thing back together. I may or may not be blindfolded right now. Who's gonna know? So yeah, snap it all back together. Easy does it. all 4 should be in place. Our screen should be back on. So yeah, we can just step through these. There's our pizza timer. We just threw a Hawaiian pizza in the oven. We got Wordle. We've got the butterfly game, Simon, and yeah, Invaders. Pretty neat. So we can play a quick game of Invaders really quick. So 1. There we go. That was a pretty good round, actually. That is it. We are running it. I'm not going to show me putting it back in the watch because I have fat fingers and this is going to take forever to do. Yeah, I hope you learned something. If you enjoy the SensorWatch project, please support them. Go get yourself one. They are just such an awesome thing that exists for no reason other than to just be a really cool thing that you can do. Like and subscribe. Please stick around for the next one if you enjoyed this. I'm hoping to do something kind of cool with my second favorite watch, the GB5600B. That is it. Thanks for sticking with me this long. Peace.